Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, verse 27. Loke bhavan jaganina kala yavatirna sarrakshanaya kala nigrahanaya kanya kaschit vadiyam matiyati nideshamisha kim vajana sakritam richati tanna vidmaha. Translation. You are the predominating Lord of the universe and have descended into this world with your personal power to protect the saintly and suppress the wicked. We cannot understand, O Lord, how anyone can transgress your law and still continue to enjoy the fruits of his work. Purport. Sridhar Swami explains that the kings were bewildered by the suffering that had come upon them. They state here that since the Lord had descended to this world to protect the pious and punish the wicked, how is it that Jarasandha, who brazenly transgressed the order of the Lord, continued to perform his wicked activities, whereas the kings were put into a miserable condition? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur similarly states that the kings could not understand how Jarasandha, who harassed the saintly devotees and nourished the envious, could continue to prosper, whereas the kings were being tormented by the wicked Jarasandha. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada quotes the kings as follows in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear Lord, you are the proprietor of all the worlds, and you have incarnated yourself along with your plenary expansion, Lord Balaram. It is said that your appearance in this incarnation is for the purpose of protecting the faithful and destroying the miscreants. Under the circumstances, how is it possible that miscreants like Jarasandha can put us into such deplorable conditions of life against your authority? We are puzzled at the situation and cannot understand how it is possible. It may be that Jarasandha has been deputed to give us such trouble because of your past misdeeds. But we have heard from revealed scriptures that anyone who surrenders unto your lotus feet immediately becomes immune to the reactions of sinful life. We therefore wholeheartedly offer ourselves unto your shelter, and we hope that your lordship will now give us full protection. Okay, so in this chapter, we hear about the Lord's morning program, just like we have our morning program here. Krishna also had a morning program where he woke up. He had, let's see, he woke up uh, in the early hours, just like we are here, and he bathed himself and he chanted and he offered oblations and paid tributes to demigods and sages and gave respects to brahmanas. And he would decorate himself with celestial ornaments. And yeah, just like we have a morning ritual, Krishna had his like his morning ritual, which involved him as being royalty. And what happened one morning was that this messenger came and he started offering what seems to me it was a message, but it's interesting because in scripture it always, especially if it's towards Lord Krishna or some great sage, it ends up being prayers because the culture was that they honor and glorify people, especially Krishna. And it's very interesting because this messenger realizes, he knows who Krishna is. He respects Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. He calls him immeasurable soul. So he's coming to give him news about Jarasandha, having captured um, these kings, these pious kings, these good kings, and Jarasandha being um, a conqueror, basically. The idea is if they wouldn't pay him tribute, and this was something very common in these days, is that when the king was conquering lands, he would have the kings of different um, villages and um, yeah, different areas that he would ask them to pay tribute and surrender to him and to accept his rule as a greater king. And if they didn't, then he would just imprison them. Um, yeah, so instead of like the Pandavas program, which is they go around and they did the same thing, but they were merciful lords and they were magnanimous. They were devotees of the Lord. They were um, actually great rulers. And their dharma was to actually rule fairly, and they had the ability to do so, yeah, just in a great capacity. So, um, when the Pandavas would basically do the same thing, it was a lot different. And actually, most kings, from what I remember, most kings were actually happy to surrender or to pay tribute, and that's um, yeah, this is when they Yudhisthira Maharaj had that huge sacrifice, rocking the Rajasuya sacrifice, and yeah, it actually benefited all of the land. So this is the difference. Instead of like tyranny and dictatorship and uh, just uh, yeah, if the person is evil-minded, everything's going to reflect from that person in their realm. So in this day and age, it was easy to recognize who had what intentions. And so they're perplexed, like how could the Lord allow this to happen? The Lord is here to who descends to protect the saintly and suppress the wicked, as he says here. How is it that someone like Jarasandha can just go about and do whatever he wants and get away with it and nothing happened to him? And of course, that's not the end of the story, but it was quite baffling that even in the world that they live in, where the Lord is personally present, that something like this could happen. So, but that's the thing about the Lord and his Leela is there's many purposes served within that. And also in the material world, Krishna gives living entities free will. And so we have the ability to make poor decisions, basically, and to play out our karma in that way. So the Lord would never just, um, yeah, just try to take that away from us because yeah, we are part and parcel of Krishna being individual little souls. And Krishna gives us this free will as being part of, actually, it's part of Krishna. Krishna also he is the ultimate one who has complete autonomy, and we are little parts of him that also have autonomy, at least to a certain degree, whereas Krishna is infinite and we are infinitesimal. We are little infinites and we have minute independence, which basically really depends on our mode of nature that we're in, um, mode of passion, goodness or ignorance. So, um, yeah, so why isn't everything perfect all the time? I think that's a really great question people ask, or they say like, well, if there's God, why is there evil? Why doesn't God just make everything great? Or why is there suffering? I think that's another common thing. Why is there suffering? If we have an all merciful Lord, why is there suffering? Well, it's not really the Lord's fault why there's suffering. It's not Krishna's fault. We decided we wanted things a certain way, and so in the spiritual realm where we would be completely blissful, happy, full of knowledge, and experiencing transcendence at every moment, we decided to live in the material world more or less. Because we wanted to, yeah, we wanted to be the controller. We wanted to have independence in a sense. It's a long story, but not that long. I mean, I guess, but but here we are anyway. So yeah, it was really our decision though. We have free will, and now that we're here, there is a world designed to ultimately rectify us because honestly, it's like a it's like a dream. It's described as a dream in many places where we experience good things, bad things, some things in between. And the bad things, especially in this middle realm of the universe, we experience both. And so we're able to live a peaceful life to a degree, but there's lots of troubles in between. And it's more or less designed, especially in this realm, to help us become self-realized, become Krishna conscious, because the perils of life will lead us to try to discover what is going on. Why am I suffering? And this is spoken about in the scripture where when living entities start to question, when they start thinking, why am I suffering? What is life about? Who is God? That we can actually start to, when we start to ask these questions, we can actually start to find the doors to knock on to open. And when I was 19 years old, well, oddly enough, when I was 19 years old, I had experienced my first, I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about here, but I experienced my first mushroom experience and magical mushroom experience. But I actually had a very spiritual experience. It was actually terrifying. I think I took a lot for my body weight, and it was completely terrifying. And I went to the inner world and it was not completely pretty. I realized how I realized a lot about myself and through peeled through the layers and within my mind's eye, I actually experienced a beautiful world at some point, and it got me thinking about God for the first time. And I grew up in a Christian family, went to church, twice a week, and I went to private Christian school for like 3 or 4 years. And, we were supposedly religious people, but I never really had a God experience. And I'm not saying that that's what you need to do to have that, but it was my first experience. But I started believing in reincarnation. I started thinking about the East and yogis, and I had never thought about that ever in my life. I was thinking like, well, the wisdom I've heard, the little droplets of wisdom about Zen or about yeah, just reincarnation and that we've lived multiple lifetimes, and that all just started to seem very interesting to me. And then I started to be able to perceive it. And then I was at a concert, and then some devotee um came up to me and gave me a Bhagavad Gita. And when I opened it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the images I've seen. And I took the book, and that was the beginning of my journey. Um, and yeah, and this is very interesting because it was simply from an initial desire to understand, what is this all about? Like, what is life about? Like, I remember thinking, like, am I just wasting my life? Like, what am I doing? Like, what the heck am I doing in life? Like, I'm not taking this serious. I think life in this journey here is much more serious than I could ever have imagined. It's not just about this. I felt like I had been living superficially, like the things I cared about didn't really matter. my social experiences, and the people that I hung out with, I started to realize like I started to realize to some degree that I'm not sure if we're really utilizing our time efficiently or effectively in this world. Like what there has to be more. And so I got Bhagavad Gita and Ishopanishad, and I can't say that I actually read them right away, but I had them and I kept them with me. And I think um yeah, and I now looking back realize that that was because I made the decision to say yes, that was the beginning. And a few years later, got other books, and then it's a long story, but basically, I had ended up in my life had turned into having nothing else to do and no obligations but to seek my path. And so literally I was like living on my friend's couch and and like I had nothing I had like no obligations. I couldn't even get a job at this point. Like I had nothing. Like I was like I think I did not fit anywhere. That's what it seemed like. And I like didn't fit in anywhere but fit in everywhere at the same time, which was very strange. Like I could make friends with anybody, but I don't think I had the work ethic to like really fit in anywhere at that point or desire even. I was just like really interested in just like going to yoga classes and having spiritual experiences. And anyway, I decided to actually had met some devotees, and then I had I ended up in New Vrindavan for a while, and then I ended up in Gainesville, and then I had the crazy idea to go around and distribute literature like Bhagavad Gita's at rock concerts. It happened to me, so I was like, wow, it's like I can change a lot of people's lives. And so, yeah, over like the next 7 years, I just did that full time. I lived out of a van and yeah, passed out over 100,000 literatures during that time and even had my own team at one point. And that's how I know a lot of people on this call. And yeah, really wonderful. But I think what I'm really going at here is uh, the power of decision. And that's really what any living entity can make at any time. They can completely change their life with a very powerful, simple but powerful decision, which is, do I want to choose enlightenment or material nature? And I feel like we live in a world that's, I mean, we are, not that I feel like it is a world that's heavily, I mean, it is the material world, right? The spiritual energy is there, but what is being advertised to us at every moment is material sense enjoyment. And that's the world we live in. And the spiritual enjoyment and the spiritual life and decisions are more of a whisper, It's like there's New York City and then there's Bhakti Center. And it's a very powerful little place compared to the rest of the city, but you have a choice to go to Bhakti Center. You have a choice to get a book from somebody in New York City. There's always the choice. It's a small whisper compared to everything else that's going on in New York. It's a loud and crazy place, and there you can do anything in New York City at any moment. There's every opportunity and decision to enjoy completely immaterial nature. But in a small whisper, wonderful whisper that says Bhakti Center Kirtan or or Srimad Bhagavatam class. Like, check it out. And you could say, yeah, you know what? That sounds really great. And let's go check it out. And that one little whisper and saying yes to that whisper can change your entire life. And that is really that is the beauty of choice. And it's the beauty of I mean, gosh, it's a beautiful thing that we even have that choice. I mean, without Srila Prabhupada coming in the 60s to establish this in New York City, we wouldn't be able, at least not the way that it is now, we wouldn't be able to have that choice. So it's amazing what one person's decisions can do to affect the world. It doesn't really, it takes a village to raise a child, but really it's just even start the village in the first place. It takes someone to decide to do that. And so at 70 years old, Srila Prabhupada decided to come to the United States of America, where most people are retiring and deciding that, at that age, deciding to wrap up things and retire and just live a little easier life. He's like an 18-year-old going to chase his dream in college or something, like that same energy, but greater, obviously. Um, like you would think he ne would never suspect he would die in a sense, Like it's just some people would think, oh, but I really only have like 5 or 10 years left. Like I'll never be able to do anything. No, he knew that he has time limit, but it was more like, push, let me, let me give other people opportunities to say yes to Krishna. That's really what it is. It's like if I never went out there, I mean, I know many devotees now who I met. One called me the other day. He's living in Los Angeles. I gave him a book at a reggae festival in Austin. I don't even remember meeting him. I wish I did. But I gave him a book. Actually, I gave his friend a book and he took it from his friend. I think he stole it from his friend. Like out of his friend's backpack at that festival. And he is now an initiated devotee and lives in Los Angeles. And he was calling me to ask me some questions about, he was a monk, brahmachari, and he was asking me some questions about, you know, graduating from that ashram. And yeah, it's just really cool. I've actually never met him since then. He just calls me once a year to talk, and it's cool. Like to think I could have just stayed in the van, and maybe he would never have gotten it. So my decision and his decision, saying yes to the spiritual energy at that time, that perfect moment, lined up. So really, that's this opportunity is there for us at every moment, every second to say yes or no to the spiritual energy. And not perfect at it, of course, but I think I've said yes enough times that that's taking over more than the yeses to the material nature. So hopefully, um, yeah, I think that's like Radhanath Swami says, there's two. Well, I guess it's the Native American. Uh, what do you call it? Story or analogy, but there's two wolves and two dogs or two wolves in the heart, and there's a bad one and there's a good one, and the one that wins is the one that barks the loudest and wins is the one you feed the most. So we're that's really what we're trying to do. We're just trying to fill our bhakti cup as much as possible. And hearing about Lord Krishna and chanting about Lord Krishna is the simplest way to be able to do that. And when that transcendental energy fills up our mind and our heart more than the material energy, then we make those decisions, and we make yeah we make decisions based on what's pervading in our consciousness, and the um, the idea is that grows and grows and grows, and we become fully Krishna conscious, and help other people do the same, fill their cup, because if we're not filled up, how can we fill other cups? So pouring into other people's cups to encourage them to make spiritual advancement in whatever way we can. There's people all around us in our life, and it doesn't have to be rocket science to just share what we're into. Simple as that. Whatever you do, just be you. I'm a real estate agent and investor and coach, and I was recently at a conference and I met keynote speaker and author Phil Jones, and he's a really wonderful person, very much in the mode of goodness, also very interested in many spiritual things. And I met him with another devotee friend of mine, and my friend had asked him because he has a book exactly what to say, and it's like basically he's a wordsmith, you know? And and my friend said, "What would you say to two monks who decided to get into real estate?" And he said, "Well, I don't know what I'd say," which was funny. And then he said, "Well, I imagine that you're able to simplify complex concepts." And also, he said, don't think that who you have been isn't who you are or part of who you are now. And I thought that was very powerful because whatever phase of life we're in, like say I seemingly was just like completely dedicated to, you know, the mission or something like that at one point, but uh and like very strict monk, brahmachari monk. And then now I'm like really engaged in my work, like seemingly more than my spiritual activities. That's the priority right now, in a sense. But I think it's important that no matter what we do, where we go, what we're doing, that we remain who we are, really who we are. And that's a spiritual being. And that is whatever that means, like whatever we do, that shines through what we do. And when I used to teach Bhakti Shastri, I did this for 2 years online. One of our goals was to help devotees see that their material life, say if they work or have a family, and that's easily distinguished as material life, but that we would help them see how that is not material life if you're Krishna conscious. So I think that's very important to remember that it's not like you have two wardrobes where you wake up and dress like a spiritual person and then you change that dress and now you're not a spiritual person. I think it's important that in the mornings when we do our spiritual practice, we are a spiritual person then. And then when we walk out the door to go into the world, we are still a spiritual person no matter what. And our values and our lifestyle shine through ourselves into the world. And I feel like that's the most powerful thing that we could do is be who we are and be Krishna conscious and just be a shining light in the world and share our joy and share our love with everyone else we meet. Simple as that. Simple as that. So it is 7:47, and I believe that is when I'm supposed to open up everything for questions.
Thank you, Brajananda Prabhu. Wonderful class, very introspective, self-reflective. Thank you. Yeah, we go out there into the world. We're still a spiritual person, but we're wearing this ridiculous meat costume that has its own needs, sensations, and it's distracting to wear that thing, especially towards the end of the day. The spiritual identity is so covered over by the end of the day. So morning routine, like you said, morning practice helps a lot to stay focused on what truly matters, no matter how distractive the world is. All these people are in our life so that we can share love with them and uplift them and show care on behalf of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, because
Okay.
we can
Yeah.
meet any person and we can either see them as part of our enjoyment, or we can see them as someone who's meant for Krishna's enjoyment, and that
Yeah.
our our relationship is to connect them, whether it's
Exactly. Yeah.
share
This.
cookies or just be nice. It could be
Yeah.
simple as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Not your wife. It's Krishna's daughter. Not your kid. It's Krishna's servant. It's not for you. You're here to serve. Uh, Ganga Leela, welcome. Welcome. We missed you. How are you? Did the school
Good.
start?
Yes,
Where are you logging in from?
from my phone. I'm
Okay.
not in school. I'm still inside home.
Okay. Good, good. Did you listen to the
Grandpa has the
class?
best.
Yes, I yesterday was in the class, but then I had to leave because I need to go to school.
Okay. Would you like to share anything before you go to school?
Mm, what were you talking about?
We were talking about Krishna.
What?
Rajananda Prabhu, can you summarize quickly for Ganga Leela?
Well, Gurungalila, first off, you have the best background of all the backgrounds, and I've been in a lot of conference meetings lately, and that is the best background. So,
What
um,
background?
you have a background that's
Oh, yeah.
Shastra. Most people have, if they have a background like that, it's a beach or a fake office.
Yeah.
So, first off, you made a good decision there, and I feel like a lot of what we talked about today was about decisions. And we always have the decision to say yes to Krishna or yes to Maya or no to Krishna and no to Maya. So the best decision that's in our best interest is saying yes to Krishna. And that is, I believe, the essence of what I talked about. Because the question was, why does Krishna allow an evil king like Jarasandha to exist and torment people and to capture kings and put them in prison? Like, why does he allow him to do that? And there's a Leela involved. I didn't really get into that. I got more into like the mortal aspect of like having free will and being able to be our authentic self by saying yes to the spiritual energy. Yeah,
Yes to Krishna, no to Maya.
exactly. We can call this class Yes to Krishna, No to Maya.
Nice. It's our sutra, the packaged wisdom. Yes to Krishna, no to Maya. Okay, we're gonna say yes to Krishna Kumari, followed by the temple room. Let's see if they have.
Hello.
Hare Krishna. So one time when my kids were younger, we were staying at Gauravani's house.
Oh,
From places.
Krishna Kumari, you're disappearing. Krishna
I'll try
Kumari.
again in a few minutes.
we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, one time, his kids, they're all getting ready and they're like, Dad, should we wear devotional clothes? And Gaura said, how can clothes be devotional? It's only you who can be devotional. So, yeah, I
That
like to
is
think about that.
that is incredible wisdom right there. It's so true. Cannot get caught up on the externals being spiritual or not. Or yeah. Devotional clothes means you being devotional in clothes. I love that. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Krishna Kumari. Adipusha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for casually sharing your experiences that Krishna gave you.
With mushrooms?
All the experiences Krishna gives us and gave you point to the fact that Krishna is very wonderful and that he cares for us and he's reaching out to us and he's drawing us closer to him. And then you made a really wonderful point about how Krishna is so wonderful that he gives us a choice about what we do with our time and what our intention is behind our activities. And if we allow Krishna to work through us, just like Srila Prabhupada, Acharya, he's showing by his example, by giving himself to devotional service, that we could do that too. We felt, and we still feel, drawn into sharing Krishna consciousness because we see how Srila Prabhupada is doing it. And they say sometimes, preach with your feet. If you come to the morning program and you're there in the temple worshiping Krishna, you're showing by your example something that is recommended. But if you just talk about it and you don't do it, even if you believe it, it's like reading the menu in the restaurant without having dinner. And you'll never be able to encourage people on the same scale if you're not doing it yourself. So we're choosing, by Srila Prabhupada's invitation and instruction, Lord, I want to give myself to you. My energy, my time, my ability, my finances, whatever intelligence I have, I'm a fallen soul. I do make mistakes, but I'm yours. And use me, let me dance as you like. Just like Srila Prabhupada prayed when he was on the Jaladuta approaching the Boston Harbor. Krishna, I have no ability. I'm just a fallen soul. I don't have any devotion, but I believe that you want to use me and I want to give myself to your service. So that's, what we get out of your class, that Krishna gave you this experience and Krishna gave you that experience and Krishna called you to reach out to others and Krishna empowered you to share with others. And we want to follow in your footsteps. We see your sincerity and your intelligence. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. I'm talking too long.
Brajananda Prabhu, bring Adi to your next meeting on Zoom. He'll play songs about Krishna.
Yeah, instead of like the music in the beginning of a meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, I love them. Especially the Narasimha one. That's the best one.
Do you like the roars?
Yes.
Yeah. Me too. It's my favorite part. Okay, who wants to speak next? Jeff Reckler, Prabhu, since you have such a wonderful and bona fide background, why don't you speak?
Hare Krishna. Can I be heard?
Yes.
I was getting an audio error message earlier. Sorry for interrupting Adi early on. Rajananda, you were talking about the power of decision, and I had put in the chat a quote from Srila Prabhupada from the Art of Bhakti, or the Art of Devotion, but he has a chapter called What is Bhakti? And talks about these loving exchanges being eternal. And it's so powerful to think that, when we talk about choosing the spiritual over choosing the material, if you choose to eat a Chips Ahoy, that momentary joy of that cookie is fleeting. But if you choose to say yes to something slightly more spiritual than the delicious cookie, you approach something that could potentially be eternal. And then when we talk about these loving exchanges between devotees or soon to be devotees or aspiring devotees, these exchanges draw us or tune us to the sound of God, and that is something that exists beyond our physical body, and it really is the power in that material decision making that crosses the boundary to the spiritual world, and to the extent that we are literally and figuratively in tune with the sound of God, the beauty really is in that decision. So thank you for highlighting that today. It's beautiful. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your eloquent and wonderful words.
Yeah, waking up early, is that a material decision or a spiritual decision? Picking up the japa bag, is that a material decision or a spiritual decision? Choosing to stay calm and see Krishna, or choosing to freak out and blame somebody, is that spiritual or material decision making? What is it, Bhajananda Prabhu? What's the difference between spiritual and material?
Well, you can wake up early to work on your body. You can pick up your bead bag to hang it on a shelf. It's what you decide, what consciousness and what you decide to do by those decisions. You gotta wake up and chant and try to purify the heart. You gotta pick up your bead bag and chant on your beads, you know? You gotta show up to the day. Are you gonna sing for the Lord? Are you gonna meditate on the Lord, or what you need to do? I think it's just consciousness, and that's why it's called Krishna consciousness.
Yeah,
It's just that simple.
yeah. Simple for the simple. Hey, you can even drive your car spiritually and listen to class like Ishwari Sundari is doing right now. No, there's no question of road rage or blame. She's engaged in hearing about Krishna while driving. Cool. Ishwari. Oh, and then chanting. Wow. See,
Transcendental vehicle.
yeah, Vaishnavis can multitask. Vaishnavas, especially Adi, cannot. But Vaishnavis can do that. They're empowered. Okay, this is it. Darshan time. Put on your best look, best background. Stand up if you can. Let's be
Thank you.
seen by the Lord. Thank you, Bhajananda. Wonderful class. Hare Krishna. This was the class. Rajananda Prabhu, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for participating. Should we do an afterglow? Anyone? William, how are you? It's been a long time. So glad you're back.
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking.
That's good. That's
Hare
good.
Krishna.
Tell Cheska and Pepito we say hi. And bring them to the park if you can.
Did our yes, definitely.
All right.
Did the person giving class leave already?
Yeah, I think they left. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, William Prabhu. Okay, dear devotees, we love you. Thank you very much for your association, for helping us remember Krishna at all times. Hare Krishna. Jeffrey Eckler Prabhu, you look like one of those characters in the background. Just have to expand your eyes a little bit.
Working on it.
Working on it, yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Hare Krishna. Adipusha Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Take care, everybody.